Have you ever sat on the crinkly paper of an examination table, the air thick with the scent of antiseptic, and felt a lie forming on your lips? It's a quiet, almost instinctive moment. The doctor, kind but busy, turns to you and asks, "So, how have you been feeling?" And though a dull ache has been nesting in your lower back for weeks, or a strange fatigue has been stealing the energy from your afternoons, you hear yourself say, "I'm fine, thank you." It's a simple, polite, and utterly devastating response. Did you know that what most seniors say inside their doctor's office is quietly and systematically dismantling the quality of their health care? This isn't a rare occurrence. It's a silent epidemic of miscommunication, a pattern of words and habits that millions of older Americans have adopted without a second thought. The truth is, these seemingly harmless phrases can stop you from getting the care you desperately need and deserve. Your physician, no matter how brilliant or experienced, is not a mind reader. They rely on the map you provide, the words you choose, the symptoms you describe, the concerns you voice, to navigate the complex landscape of your health. When that map is vague, dismissive, or intentionally misleading, the journey can lead to a terrifyingly wrong destination. The results can affect your health, your independence, and your longevity in ways you might not imagine until it's too late. In this deep dive, we are going to pull back the curtain on 5 of the most pervasive and damaging habits in the way many older adults talk to their doctors. These are the verbal traps, the phrases and mindsets that nearly everyone over 70 has learned, but which few realize are actively working against them. By uncovering these ugly truths, you will not only learn how to protect your own health, but also how to forge a stronger, more trusting, and more effective partnership with your physician. I urge you to stay with me until the very end, because these insights have the power to fundamentally change the way you handle your medical appointments forever. You will see how a few small but profound shifts in communication can help you live longer, stay stronger, and walk into that office with a newfound sense of confidence and control. And if you find this journey valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss the wisdom we share here. Now, let's begin this crucial conversation. The first and most common verbal roadblock is the seemingly innocent phrase, "I'm fine." It's a social reflex, the automatic answer we give the cashier at the grocery store or a neighbor we pass on the street. It is meant to be polite, to close a conversational loop without fuss. But inside the sterile walls of a medical clinic, those 2 words can be a wall, blocking the flow of critical information. When you say, "I'm fine," even as you are secretly battling persistent pain, dizzy spells, or a troubling new symptom, your doctor may take you at your word. They have a dozen other patients to see, a mountain of paperwork to complete, and they may interpret your response as a green light to move on to the next item on their checklist. The devastating result is a cascade of missed opportunities, missed chances for early detection, for timely treatment, and for genuine relief from suffering. The psychology behind this response runs deep, often rooted in the values of a generation. Many older adults were raised in an era where stoicism was a virtue and complaining was a sign of weakness. They were taught not to be a burden, to keep their troubles private, and to project an image of strength and self-reliance. This mindset, while admirable in many contexts, can be catastrophic in a medical setting. It creates an internal conflict where the desire to be a good patient overrides the fundamental need to be an honest one. But doctors are not there to judge your character. They are trained detectives, listening for clues and piecing together a diagnostic puzzle. When you withhold information by declaring you are fine, you are essentially hiding the most important clues, stripping them of the very tools they need to help you. I once spoke with a woman named Martha, a 76-year-old retired school teacher from Ohio. Martha loved her garden. It was her sanctuary. For months, she had been experiencing dizzy spells, especially when she stood up too quickly after weeding. She also felt a persistent shortness of breath when carrying a watering can. Yet at 3 consecutive doctor's appointments, she smiled and insisted she was perfectly fine. She didn't want to bother her young, busy doctor with what she feared were just signs of getting older. It wasn't until she fainted while tending to her prize-winning roses that the truth came out. In the emergency room, tests revealed she had atrial fibrillation, a heart condition commonly known as AFib, which was highly treatable. Her doctor later told her, "Martha, if you had just told me about the dizziness, we could have caught this months ago and prevented this scare." The ugly truth here is that saying "I'm fine" doesn't feel like a lie, but it functions as one. It quietly robs you of the chance for a better, healthier future. Being honest about how you truly feel is not complaining. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation. When you give your doctor the full, unvarnished picture, you give yourself the best possible chance at healing, thriving, and spending more time in your own garden. If you've ever found yourself saying you're fine when you really weren't, I want you to know you're not alone. It's a hard habit to break. Share your story or thoughts in the comments below. Your experience could empower someone else to speak up. From the simple dismissal of "I'm fine," we move to its more insidious and fatalistic cousin, the phrase, "It's just old age." A new ache in the knee, a frustrating memory lapse, a change in sleep patterns, all are swiftly and conveniently filed away under this single, all-encompassing explanation. It's a verbal shrug, a way of accepting suffering as an inevitable part of the journey. But here is the harsh, critical reality. Not every new discomfort is a non-negotiable part of aging. Very often, it is your body's sophisticated alarm system sounding a warning for a condition that can be treated, managed, or even reversed if it's caught in time. By blaming every ailment on the relentless march of time, you risk overlooking serious problems that could be eased, prevented, or solved. Psychology plays a powerful role in this habit as well. For many, there's a deep-seated fear of hearing bad news. Minimizing a symptom by labeling it as just old age is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid a potentially frightening diagnosis. Others grew up watching their own parents or grandparents silently endure pain, accepting it as a natural consequence of a long life. They carry that same belief system into their own senior years, assuming that suffering is a mandatory part of the package. But when you present this conclusion to your doctor, you are not just describing a symptom. You are offering them a diagnosis. You are teaching them to dismiss what could be a vital warning sign. You are inadvertently giving them permission to stop investigating. Consider the story of Frank, a 72-year-old former construction worker from Texas. Frank was a tough man who had spent his life working with his hands. When he started feeling a tightness in his chest while walking to the mailbox, he told his wife it was just old age catching up. When he felt winded playing with his grandchildren, he chalked it up to being out of shape. At his annual physical, he mentioned it in passing to his doctor, but immediately followed with, "I'm sure it's just me getting older." The doctor, hearing Frank's own dismissal, noted it, but didn't push for more tests. That delay proved nearly fatal. One afternoon, the tightness grew into an unbearable crushing pain. Frank was having a major heart attack. In the hospital, tests revealed severe coronary artery disease that could have been treated months earlier with a simple stent procedure, with far less risk and a much easier recovery. Instead, his delay cost him weeks in the hospital and left him permanently weaker than before. The ugly truth is that brushing off your symptoms with "it's just old age" doesn't make you tough, it makes you vulnerable. A geriatric specialist's job is not to judge you for growing older. It is to skillfully separate what is a normal part of the aging process from what is a sign of disease. Give them the chance to do their job. Describe what you feel with precision, even if you suspect it might be nothing. Let them be the ones to determine its significance. That simple shift in responsibility could save your life. If you're finding these insights valuable and you're ready to challenge this mindset, please comment with the number 2 below to let me know you're here with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and empowers you on your health journey. Now, let's address a phrase that often comes from a place of genuine respect but can paradoxically lead to a profound disrespect for one's own health and well-being. That phrase is, "I don't want to bother you." Far too many seniors walk into an exam room with an almost apologetic tone, prefacing their concerns with statements like, "I know you're incredibly busy, but," or "this is probably silly, so I don't want to bother you." While this may sound humble and considerate on the surface, this habit fundamentally undermines your own care. It sends a powerful, albeit unintentional, message, "My problems are not that important." It sends a powerful, albeit unintentional message, "My problems are not that important." It frames your health concerns as an inconvenience rather than the very reason for the appointment. Think about the dynamic this creates. A doctor's schedule is undeniably hectic. When you downplay your own needs, you give them an easy out. They might subconsciously register your issue as minor and dedicate less time and mental energy to it. Over time, this pattern can lead to rushed visits, overlooked details, and a host of untreated or undertreated problems. The root of this response often comes from a lifetime of conditioning. Many older adults were raised to hold authority figures, like doctors, in extremely high regard. They were taught to be courteous above all else, to never take up too much space, and to yield to the expertise and importance of others. But in the modern medical setting, that same brand of politeness can become a dangerous form of self-neglect. When you treat your own health as less important, you subtly teach others to do the same. I remember a gentleman named George, a 69-year-old widower from Florida, who was a textbook example of this. He consistently began every appointment by telling his doctor he didn't want to be a bother. Because of this, he skimmed over his persistent sleep problems and the constant painful cramps in his legs, focusing only on his prescription refills. He felt his issues were trivial compared to the other sicker patients he imagined his doctor had to see. Months later, George ended up in the emergency room with a deep vein thrombosis, a serious blood clot in his leg that had the potential to travel to his lungs. The condition was directly related to the circulation issues causing his cramps. His hesitation to speak up, born from a desire not to impose, had real, life-threatening consequences. After his recovery, his doctor sat with him and said, "George, your health is never a bother. It is the entire reason I am here." The ugly truth is that by trying so hard not to bother your doctor, you may be robbing yourself of the very answers, treatments, and solutions that could dramatically improve or even save your life. Your health is not an inconvenience. Your questions are not a nuisance. They deserve time, attention, and an honest, thorough conversation. When you claim that space confidently and respectfully, you are not being difficult. You are being an active participant in your own life. You are giving your doctor the chance to do their best work for you. It's a shift from apology to advocacy, and it's one of the most powerful things you can do for your long-term health. Have you ever felt this way, like you were taking up too much of your doctor's valuable time? I would be genuinely interested to hear your perspective on this in the comments section. This next phrase sounds like the ultimate expression of faith in your physician, but in reality, it can be a dangerous abdication of your most important role, the role of being the chief executive officer of your own body. The phrase is, "You're the doctor, you decide." On the surface, it communicates trust and respect for their expertise. In practice, however, it strips you of your voice in the most intimate and consequential decisions of your life. It transforms a potential partnership into a one-sided dictatorship. While doctors possess a wealth of medical knowledge, you are the world's foremost expert on one crucial subject: you. You are the only one who knows your values, your lifestyle, your daily routines, your fears, and your personal definition of a life worth living. You are the one who has to live with the outcomes of every choice made. When you hand over full and unquestioning control, you risk receiving treatments that may not align with who you are. The history of medicine sheds light on why this habit is so common. Many seniors grew up in an era of paternalistic medicine, a time when the doctor's word was considered infallible and absolute. To challenge their authority or even ask too many questions was seen as disrespectful or rude. But medicine has evolved. The modern standard of care is built on a foundation of shared decision-making and informed consent. It works best when it is a true collaboration, a meeting of two experts. The doctor brings their medical expertise, and you bring your life expertise. Both are essential for crafting a treatment plan that not only works on paper, but also works for you in the real world. Let me tell you about Ruth, an 81-year-old woman from New Mexico who was a passionate painter. For her, art wasn't just a hobby, it was her reason for getting up in the morning. When she was diagnosed with high blood pressure, she dutifully told her physician, "Whatever you think is best, doctor, you decide." She was prescribed a standard, effective medication. However, it came with a side effect she could not bear: fine tremors in her hands. For many people, this would be a minor annoyance. For Ruth, it was a catastrophe. She could no longer hold her paintbrush steady. The joy was stolen from her life. She grew depressed, but said nothing for months, not wanting to seem difficult or ungrateful. It was only when her daughter noticed the unused canvases gathering dust that she was encouraged to speak up. When she finally explained the situation to her doctor, he was shocked. He had no idea how central painting was to her identity. Together, they found an alternative medication, one that controlled her blood pressure without the tremors. Her joy and her art returned. The ugly truth here is that your doctors are expert guides, not fortune tellers. They cannot know what matters most to you unless you tell them. They need your input to tailor their recommendations to your life. A medically perfect plan that you can't or won't follow is a failed plan. When you step into the conversation, ask questions about side effects, inquire about alternatives, and share your priorities and concerns, you are not questioning their competence. You are building a treatment plan that honors both their expertise and your lived experience. Silence may feel polite, but active participation is what truly protects your health and your quality of life. This idea of becoming a true partner in your healthcare is a complete game changer. If you agree, please show your support by hitting the like button. It sends a strong signal to us that you want more content that empowers you to take control of your health journey. And if you're still with me, please comment with the number 4 below to let me know. Finally, we arrive at what is perhaps the most immediately harmful and self-sabotaging phrase of them all. It's a verbal door slam, a conversation ender that shuts down inquiry before it can even begin. The phrase is, "It's nothing, forget it." Seniors often use this line when they feel a pang of embarrassment about a symptom, when they second-guess themselves and think their concern is too small, or when they worry about sounding foolish or hypochondriacal. But dismissing your own observations can have life-altering and sometimes life-ending consequences. What feels like a minor, insignificant nothing today may be the single subtle clue that could prevent something far more serious tomorrow. From a psychological standpoint, this habit is deeply rooted in self-protection. By brushing off a worry with "forget it," you momentarily shield yourself from the fear of receiving bad news. If you never ask the question, you can't get a scary answer. It is also tied to pride. Admitting to certain problems, particularly those related to bodily functions, memory, or continence, can feel like an admission of weakness or a loss of dignity. But the cost of this defensive maneuver is astronomically high. Doctors can only work with the information they are given. When you start to mention something and then abruptly shut it down, you are locking away a potentially vital piece of the puzzle. You are closing the door on answers you may desperately need. Take the story of Leonard, a 75-year-old retired accountant from Pennsylvania. Leonard was a meticulous man, but he was also very private. During a routine checkup, he started to mention that he'd noticed his gums bleeding a little when he brushed his teeth. He hesitated, then, feeling embarrassed, he quickly added, "But it's nothing, really. Forget I said anything." The doctor, respecting his wishes, moved on. Months later, Leonard was diagnosed by his dentist with advanced periodontal disease. The infection was so severe that it had begun to impact his overall health, as chronic inflammation from gum disease is increasingly being linked by medical research to a higher risk of heart disease and other systemic issues. If he had voiced his concern fully at that initial appointment, the treatment would have been simple, preventative, and far less painful and expensive. His "forget it" moment had transformed a minor issue into a major health crisis. The ugly truth is that in medicine, no symptom is truly too small or too silly to mention. Your body communicates through these signals. A small, persistent cough, a new mole, a subtle change in bowel habits, a little bit of blood where it shouldn't be, these are not random occurrences. They are messages. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. It simply allows them to grow louder and more dangerous in the silence. By refusing to minimize your own experiences, by having the courage to voice every concern no matter how small it seems, you take definitive charge of your well-being. What you share may not seem important to you, but it might be the very key your doctor needs to preserve your strength, your independence, and your quality of life for all the years ahead. Have you ever started to say something in a doctor's office and then stopped yourself? It takes real courage to push through that hesitation. Share your story in the comments. It might just be the encouragement someone else needs to find their voice at their next appointment. As we bring our conversation to a close, let's reflect on the path we've traveled. We have uncovered the silent damage of saying "I'm fine," the dangerous fatalism of "it's just old age," the misplaced deference in "I don't want to bother you," the passive surrender of "you decide," and the fearful dismissal of "it's nothing, forget it." What stands out to you the most in this list? Did you recognize any of these phrases in your own conversations with doctors, or perhaps in the way your parents or loved ones speak about their health? The profound truth is that the words we choose, especially in moments of vulnerability, matter more than we can possibly imagine. They are not just sounds, they are tools that can either build bridges or erect walls. By consciously avoiding these 5 common communication mistakes, you give yourself a stronger voice, a clearer path to diagnosis, and a far greater chance of receiving the effective, personalized care that you truly need and deserve. Please remember, your doctor is not just there to treat symptoms on a chart. Their true purpose is to understand and care for you as a whole person. When you speak clearly, directly, and without minimizing your own reality, you transform the relationship from a brief transaction into a powerful partnership. This alliance is what can keep you healthier, stronger, and more independent for longer. You are not a burden. Your questions are not silly. They are vital. Thank you for investing this time in yourself and your health today. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share the one insight you learned today that you plan to put into practice in your own life. Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly important to us and to this community. Reading your comments gives us immense motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with a friend or family member who might benefit from this message. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.